Welcome to this Premium Explainer. The lights are coming on for preseason week 3, and today we are setting the tactical board for the August 28th, 2026 matchup, the Cincinnati Bengals at the Philadelphia Eagles. We're stepping away from those surface-level storylines to really look at the pure underlying mechanics of the gridiron. We're going to break down what actually matters when these two teams clash on a Friday night. So get comfortable, lock in on the tactical data, and let's get started.
Okay, let's dive into this. The central tactical question for a preseason game like this isn't about which all-pro is going to dominate the fourth quarter. It's actually what defines victory when the starters sit. Because, this is not a regular season continuation. Expecting each club's best offensive identity across 60 full minutes would completely mislead us. This game is fundamentally a test of roster construction and pure game operation. We are evaluating who gets those critical quarterback snaps, how effectively reserve offensive lines communicate under pressure, whether the coverage units can tackle in open space, and exactly which bubble players end up preserving or losing crucial field position.
To understand where these teams are headed, we really need to look at where they've been. The 2025 offensive baselines show a pretty sharp contrast. Cincinnati heavily leaned into a pass-first attack last year, putting up 36 passing touchdowns compared to just 11 on the ground, with a massive 47 pass plays of 20 or more yards. Philadelphia, on the flip side, brought a much more balanced scoring mix to the table, 26 passing touchdowns and 17 rushing. But, and this is absolutely crucial for this explainer, we have to view this history strictly through the lens of reserve participation. Last year's explosive pass volume literally means nothing if the second and third string units are out there just trying to survive against an unblocked pass rush.
That brings us to the stark contrast between regular season reality and preseason evaluation. For Philadelphia specifically, this game is massive. Club reporting confirms the Eagles are installing a new offense and a completely revamped blocking scheme under new offensive line coach Chris Cooper. So this Friday is a true test of operation, not just a cut and paste of their 2025 play calling. A preseason coordinator might deliberately dial up concepts that look totally inefficient on the final stat sheet simply because installation, communication, and player evaluation are the real priorities right now.
And that evaluation starts right in the trenches. When we look at the line of scrimmage and early downs, we have to remember that the 2026 regular season sample size for EPA per play and success rate is exactly 0. So we're forced to evaluate based on raw process. Instead of just waiting for the box score, we need to watch for clean pre-snap identification of defensive fronts. We want to see backup tackles really anchoring the edge, proving they can hold their own without constantly begging for tight end help. For Philadelphia, a huge positive signal would be repeatable gains that leave manageable third and shorts, completely avoiding the need for crazy, heroic broken tackles. And for Cincinnati, avoiding unblocked pressures on these early downs is absolutely paramount if they want to establish any kind of passing rhythm.
Section 1. 3 key unit matchups. This is exactly where the game will be won in the trenches. Duel number 1 pits Philadelphia's backup quarterback operation against Cincinnati's pressure and coverage menu. Now we know Jalen Hurts, Tanner McKee, and Andy Dalton are all in the Eagles' quarterback room, but starter availability is completely unconfirmed. So our focus falls on whichever backup operates the longest segment. Step 1 is pocket presence. Does his feet remain set against a 4-man rush, or is he kind of drifting back? Step 2 is all about the rapid identification of pressure. And step 3 is the real differentiator. We want to see immediate hot throws replacing those blitzers rather than improvised, late dangerous throws over the middle. If Cincinnati gets 2 or more free runners in the opening drives, while Philadelphia's new blocking system is failing at a basic operational level.
Duel number 2 flips the script entirely. It's Cincinnati's passing structure testing Philadelphia's secondary tackling and deep leverage. The Bengals' historical production was built on sustained passing, right? Not just pure long ball volatility. For the Bengals' reserve quarterbacks, step 1 is showing the maturity to take the underneath profit against too high safety looks, rather than forcing dangerous shots down the boundary. Step 2 demands these completions actually arrive in rhythm, and for the Eagles' defense, step 3 is all about discipline, specifically limiting busted coverages. If Philadelphia's corners can stay connected on intermediate routes and their safeties prevent free access over the top, they completely neutralize Cincinnati's biggest historical advantage.
Duel number 3 brings us right back into the dirt. It's Philadelphia's new offensive line and run fits for Cincinnati's defensive front. Here, step 1 is looking for real displacement on double teams from the Eagles. Step 2 evaluates whether the runner's cutback lane actually remains intact as the play develops. But if Cincinnati executes step 3, winning first down by setting hard edges and keeping the ball carrier to a measly 2 or 3 yards, they're going to force an untested Eagles offense into obvious passing downs. And folks, there are literally few things more chaotic in a preseason game than a third-string guard stranded on an island during a protection-heavy passing down. That's exactly where the mistakes pile up.
We definitely have to ground all of this in availability context. Preseason snap allocation is a coaching decision. It is not a stable reflection of the depth chart, and there are absolutely no verified starter snap counts ahead of kickoff. However, we do have some confirmed depth changes for the Eagles. Cornerback Tariq Castro-Fields has been placed on injured reserve, and wide receiver Johnny Wilson was waived with an injury designation. This isn't just trivia, guys. Shifting depth distribution heavily impacts special teams rotations. In a tight preseason game, one missed contained tackle by a reserve on a punt can dramatically swing the entire momentum of the night.
Section 2. First quarter live cues. Let's talk about pre-snap operations and adjustments. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that the first quarter will give you all the tactical cues you need to read the rest of the night.
Here is exactly what you should track on Friday. First, watch the opening 2 drives specifically by which quarterback and offensive line grouping is on the field. Don't just react to the scoreboard. Watch closely for unforced errors. A sack caused by an untouched rusher, a false start that creates a frustrating 1st and 15, or a pre-snap special teams penalty. These are repeatable operational failures that scream the unit isn't communicating. Conversely, a really bullish signal is rapid, on-time completions without penalty aid. Always evaluate the process, not just the final output.
Section 3. 3 core game states, mapping the live scenarios.
Game state 1, Philadelphia leads early. If the Eagles build a lead through sound, early down rushing efficiency, and clean protection, rather than just getting lucky with short fields from defensive turnovers, their tactical priority immediately shifts. They're going to want to keep the game on schedule, avoid exposing their reserve quarterbacks to obvious passing situations, and really prioritize punt and coverage discipline over any kind of aggressive fourth down experimentation.
Game state 2 emerges if Cincinnati takes an early lead. Here, you have to distinguish exactly how they secured that lead. Are they winning with repeatable quick game completions and a pass rush that's consistently creating negative plays? If they are, Philadelphia's new blocking operation is being exposed on long distances, giving the Bengals a very clear schematic advantage. But if the Bengals' lead is purely an outlier built on one busted assignment or a muffed punt return, well, Philadelphia's home depth advantage remains very much alive and entirely capable of bridging that gap.
Game state 3 is our base case environment, a tied or one-score game entering the fourth quarter. In this state, regular season star quality takes a total back seat. This just becomes a grueling game of attrition focused on reserve quarterback decision-making, basic protection calls, vital ball security, and special teams lane discipline. Ultimately, the team's late-game coverage unit maintains their lanes and avoids turnover-worthy throws is going to secure the win.
Section 4. Final verdict and estimates. Let's look at the model projections for Week 3.
The win probabilities for this matchup are actually strikingly balanced. We have Philadelphia at 48%, Cincinnati at 48%, and a tie sitting at 4%. This completely even expectation exists because the rotation of the most valuable snaps is entirely unconfirmed. Both teams have the necessary depth on the roster to edge this out, leaving literally no massive pregame advantage for either side.
So the crucial point is that 4% number. Why 4% for a tie? Well, under the current NFL preseason framework, exhibition games do not use overtime. If the game is tied at the end of regulation, it's just recorded as a tie. As anticlimactic as it feels to end a Friday night without a dramatic winner, it is absolutely essential to protect this distinct draw branch in our evaluations, rather than artificially forcing a late winner in the projections.
Moving to the total, 41 is the projected combined points center. This number assumes a normal preseason pace, roughly neutral turnover luck, where neither team completely dominates the takeaway battle, ordinary starting field position, and a moderate number of drives affected by reserve line play. You only increase this expectation if the early drives show incredibly clean reserve line protection, or if kick returns are consistently pushing past the 30-yard line.
Putting all these operational factors together, the fixture-specific model estimate is Philadelphia 21, Cincinnati 20. This reflects a very modest home and depth continuity lean for the Eagles. But always keep in mind, this is a highly rotation-sensitive estimate. A confirmed full-quarter starter plan from either side just before kickoff would absolutely be enough to move this projection entirely.
Before we wrap up, it is vital to impartially state the strict analytics limitations of this preview. There is no verified public betting market for this game. The thresholds we've discussed today are conditional boundaries only. We have absolutely no 2026 current season efficiency samples for EPA per play or success rates. Furthermore, because starter snap counts are completely unconfirmed, any individual player prop projection would be sheer speculation and is deliberately not supported in this explainer. We rely strictly on the grounded evidence available.
And you know, this brilliantly illustrates what makes preseason football so fascinating for the focused tactical viewer. When the stars step back, the scheme and the depth are entirely exposed. So, I leave you with this thought. When the system breaks down in the fourth quarter and fatigue sets in, which bubble players are going to panic and which ones are going to earn an NFL roster spot? Pay close attention to the trenches, track those unforced errors, and you'll have your answer. Thanks for joining this explainer and enjoy the game.